This is the best BMW that absolutely nobody seems to be talking about, and I don't really know why. And no, I'm not referring to the E90 platform as a whole. Plenty of people are talking about those cars already.
And that, dear viewers, is largely thanks to this, the BMW M3.
The M3 variant of the E90 parked itself at the top of the Hall of Fame pretty much the moment it came out in 2007, and that's largely down to its iconic V8 and its ability of being able to do absolutely anything you wanted to.
It had plenty of space for 4 adults inside. You can fit all your hopes and dreams in the boots. It had a big, comfortable leather seat to swallow you up on a long drive, and if you jabbed the throttle pedal hard enough, it would keep up with just about anything else on the road or the racetrack. The M3 is an all-star certified icon.
And then you get these ones. People also talk about these ones purely because they've aged like shit.
These early SE trim cars are the ones you're most likely to see out and about today, mainly because they sold pretty well. Dealers offered good deals on the smaller engine models when new, and BMW's genius marketing convinced everyone that they deserved a BMW instead of that common muck Mondeo, even if their BM in question came with a plastic engine straight out of a pencil sharpener.
That's the thing about these good deal E90s, they usually came with 3 numbers on the back. And they said 3, 1 and 8.
These 4-cylinder engines were available as a petrol or a diesel. Both were equally rubbish.
The 2-litre diesels offered good fuel economy, sure, but they had the robustness of those red barrels on the Call of Duty map, instantly wiping away all of your precious fuel savings the moment they detonate. And because they're a diesel, they stink.
Meanwhile, the 2-litre petrols had internals made of the softest, saltiest feta cheese known to man. Haunted by a blue mist of burnt oil following their exhausts wherever they went, these ticking time bombs were mostly paired with aimless interiors and charmless wheels. It was all a bit of a massacre. Not all E90s, however, were born equal. Amongst the M-Taxed icons and the Scrap You Challenge specials is a model which I believe is one of BMW's best ever. I am of course talking about the protagonist of our film, the iconic king of the castle that is the BMW 330i.
But not just any 330i, this specific 330i. The one we have here today is an early M Sport manual car with a beautiful contrasting interior and the often forgotten about N52 engine.
The N52 came punching with 255 big heavy ponies, courtesy of the smoothest, creamiest naturally aspirated straight 6 BMW has ever produced. A bold claim, sure, but I'll back it.
It is a bold claim because, well, you see, this type of engine really is BMW's bread and butter. Over the years, BMW have built up a stacked back catalogue of brilliant, beefy straight 6s that have always ended up in the latest, newest, fattest BMW 3 Series. It started with the M20 that was put in the E30, which was then followed on by the E36, which got the M50 and the M52, followed on by the beautiful E46, which got a lovely M54 engine, which was then followed up by our E90, which got the shining star that is the N52. A big straight 6 in a BMW 3 Series is a tale as old as time itself, and owning one is a rite of passage for any BMW enthusiast. They really come as a pair, a bit like salt and pepper. You can't have one without the other.
BMW love to facelift their engine choices during a car's production run, which is where I should point out that the later E90 330i's came with the N53 engine. If you're not a nerd like me, all these codes and numbers can be a bit confusing, but the reasons why the earlier engine is brilliant are fortunately quite straightforward.
Firstly, the N52 is extremely reliable. Similar to its predecessors, you could run this engine on sand and water and it'll simply keep turning up to work, which is more than can be said for the engines that directly followed it. Dynamically, it's simply superb. The power delivery is silky smooth, and I mean silky. It's linear and uninterrupted all the way to a
very ref happy 7,200 RPM. It's grown up and mature in its power delivery, but it's not complex. Complexity is reserved for the M-Class, which this isn't really trying to be. It does, however, still make a lovely noise. And it's got a bootload of torque to get you going. And when you are going, you're going quick, because this is a quick car, making up for performance gaps that could be associated with its predecessors.
If you're handy with a gear stick and 3 pedals, a manual 330 will get you to 60 in 6.3 seconds before topping out at a barnstorming 155 miles per hour. Those are proper BMW numbers. And most impressive of all, it'll do all of that while being pretty efficient too. You will be able to see north of 40 miles per gallon on the motorway while being able to enter all the clean air zones Europe has to throw at you, because this is a modern clean engine. More that can be said for the 6-cylinder diesels you got in the E90s, which are banished from civilization such as London for making the air brown. And they also stink.
Oh, and just one more thing about the way this car drives, right? The chassis is absolutely fantastic. The turning is great. The steering is maybe a touch heavy, but that makes it really fun on twisty roads like these. Relevant reading material will tell you that the 330 has a perfect 50-50 weight distribution between the front and rear axles, which is the maths behind that really reassuring feeling of balance you get when you use your 330 for sports.
There's a reason that the 3 Series has always been used for sporting purposes. Rewind the clock and you'll see that these cars of all generations have always been used for grassroots track days, enthusiast street builds, and full-on competitive racing. I'll get my biases straight. I built a Fun 3 Series in a past life. It was amazing and I miss it dearly, but objectively I can't help and be honest and say that the E90 has something extra about it which its predecessors, yet again, didn't have.
Its packaging is just better, but not in a numerical sense of having more boot space or more room than before, but the actual quality of material is stronger. The buttons feel durable, the leather is soft, and even these plastics are somewhat sophisticated. Mind you, this one is particularly nice, which is very convenient for me because this car belongs to him. It belongs to cameraman Matt.
Matthew has owned this car now for about 4 years, but before he owned it, it belonged to this man.
Hello, Steve.
Hi, Mike.
So I know who you are, Steve, but the viewers do not. Would you like to tell everyone who you are?
Yes, I'm cameraman Matt's dad.
Brilliant. But more than just that, you bought this car brand new.
Yes.
You spec'd everything yourself.
Correct.
Amazing. Right, should we go for a drive?
Yes, love to.
Excellent.
Love to.
Right, let's go. So, Steve, when did you buy this car?
2007.
And what car did you have before this?
Before that, my brother David, he used to work for MG Rovers. So there were lease cars which we got on a good deal. I've had a few cars, but the last one that I had was a ZS 180 Rover.
Amazing. And did you ever have a BMW before this? Or was this your first
This
BM?
was my first BMW I've ever driven before.
Wow.
Yes.
And you went to the kind of top of the hot BMW food chain. You got a 330 as opposed to a 320 or one of the kind of 4-cylinder engines. Do you remember why?
I think the main reason I love the 330 is because they've got a 6-cylinder engine. Most other BMWs just a 4-cylinder.
And just for context for the viewers, you like your cars, don't you?
I certainly do.
Yeah, you've tinkered with engines in the past. You've fixed things when they're broken, and you did all the kind of upkeep and maintenance on this really yourself, didn't you?
Very much so, yes. My first car was a Reliant Regal, so that was a Del Boy car basically.
Yeah.
But not the van, I had the sophisticated saloon.
Oh, nice.
So performance wasn't too good unless you're driving off a cliff really.
Did you, when you were buying this, did you aim to get a car that was quick and nippy? Was that in your interest, or did you simply just want a nice object?
I think it wasn't necessarily the performance, I just loved the shape and the looks of the 330s and the engine notes. And this was pretty unique really, so I really enjoyed driving this. It was my dream car really, something I never thought I'd be able to buy or
Amazing.
own. Car.
And obviously you went for a manual gearbox.
Yes.
In today's climate, that's pretty rare.
Yes.
I mean, the manual gearbox is slowly going extinct, right? Do you remember why you went for a manual over an auto?
I think at the time I'd always driven manual cars
So you're set on a 3 Series from the
Yes.
get-go?
Oh, I think so. But since I bought it, once you've driven a car like this, you just do appreciate the difference in build quality.
Yeah.
It doesn't rattle, it's smooth, it's calm, it's been extremely reliable. The engine hasn't missed a beat.
So tell me about the process of handing the car over to Matt. I remember when he got it, I was still living in my old flat, and Matt was telling me for a few weeks, he's like, Mike, I think I'm going to get the 330, I think I'm going to get it. And it was quite exciting because at the time we were 22, 23 years old,
Yes.
and this is a pretty nice car for a young guy in his 20s to have. Do you remember giving it to him? How was that?
Oh, very much so. I loved the car, and I knew it had been well maintained, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's never been in an accident, so I thought, I don't want to sell this car. It's such a great car. Unfortunately, all cars, not least BMWs, do depreciate.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a car that was, I don't know, 14, 15 years old at the time. It wouldn't have been worth a considerable amount. So I thought, rather than sell it to somebody else or exchange it, I'll give it to my son Matthew.
Are you glad you did that?
Oh yeah, definitely, because it keeps it in the family, and I've still got visibility of it, and I love the car.
Of course. Matt's not going to like me saying this to you viewers, but he never washes this car. He always takes it to Steve every weekend, and the car gets turned into a showroom spec example again. I would say you've done a stellar job maintaining the paint and the carpets. It's mind-blowing how like brand new this car is.
Yes, so I think with a bit of effort, you can make a car really nice.
Got a question for you, Steve. Do you remember taking Matt and I to prom in this?
I certainly do. Yes.
I remember this was
A
the
long time
first.
ago.
This was the first BMW
Yes.
I think I've ever been in
Yes.
when I was a kid. I remember the way it sounded. It was unlike anything I heard.
I think the 330s have got a unique engine tone. It's a naturally aspirated car, and I can recognise the sound of this engine, even if my eyes were closed. It's just quite unique, the 330.
Right, Steve, I've got a great idea. Go on, you can swap sides with me. You can have a go. Your turn in the hot seat, mate.
Oh dear. 330, here we come.
So, Steve, you were telling me a story about when you were speccing this car originally. What did they say to you?
Yeah, the dealership, when the car was actually received and I took control of it, the dealership said, wow, this car looks amazing. They said they wish they'd ordered one of those in the showroom because they said more cars would have been sold.
And
That was quite...
And actually, if I'm not mistaken, this wasn't actually your first 330, was it?
No, it wasn't. Certainly wasn't, unfortunately.
What
for
happened
me.
there?
I bought the first 330 for the dealership, but after a few days there was a rattle in the front.
Do you remember where it was?
It was basically this front
Yeah.
part of the console here where the
Yeah.
stop button is, and it just kept rattling and it kept coming loose. So it kept coming loose. So I got obviously a bit frustrated because it's a brand new car. So they had it literally either 8 or 9 times. It was taken back just to correct that loose.
A rattle on the
Rattle.
dash.
And the main worry was that it's got the start-stop button, and I thought if that keeps pulling out the connection from the engine, it could potentially have an adverse effect on the engine.
Of course. Of
So
course.
that was a worry. So it went back 10 times and they couldn't fix it. I got very frustrated and basically spoke to the dealer principal. I said, either give me my money back or build me another car. They, through their own embarrassment and not being able to fix it, said, we'll build you another car. So 3.5 months after the first car was ordered, I received this car. So it was exactly the same spec. But,
And this one, as hopefully you can hear,
oh,
no rattle.
quiet, no rattle. So
Brilliant.
yeah, it's a bit of an excitement there.
So, I know what you're probably thinking right now. What has Steve replaced the E90 with once he gave it to Matt? Well, the latest Hot 3 series, of course. Today's hottest 3 Series has become an absolute beast. It isn't a straightforward 3-pedal big engine car anymore, it's more of a refined luxury teleportation device. In that respect, it makes the E90 seem very much like a modern classic already. But the chances are that if you like one of the 3 Series generations, then you probably like all of them anyway. Sure, there are favourites. Most love the E30 for its classic BMW looks. I mean, those quad headlamps and straight lines are a thing of beauty. Others prefer the E36 for its driving dynamics and iconic noise, while others lust for an immaculate E46 as it's the perfect balance of refinement and vintage, and it's the one they grew up with.
For some reason though, the E90 330 rarely comes up in conversation, and I don't really know why. Its looks were maybe a little controversial at first, which is now something that we associate with BMW, but today this design looks quite elegant. The M Sport bumpers really do help to sharpen up that front end. Chrome kidneys add maturity and grace, and you get those iconic actual real angel eyes. None of that aftermarket rubbish you see people glue onto their older BMWs. And we've established that it drives amazing too. I don't know, why don't BMW nerds care about these as much? Are they simply not old enough yet? Is it maybe the price?
In their prime, a 90s 3 Series fell as low as £1,000 for a running and driving one. And I remember this figure all too well because my own manual 330 Ci was £1,000. But while those times have changed, the E90 didn't. Its pricing never got that low despite now being over 20 years old. That's right, this shape came out in 2004. Those sweaty 4-pots I mentioned earlier are one a dozen, sure, but a strong 6-cylinder has never really hit the pricing depths its predecessors have. And even if you can find one, the leggiest manual 330i will still set you back at least double what I paid for my E46.
But for the higher price, you do get a lot of car. I strongly believe that this 330 is what Mark Singh was talking about when it convinced the everyman to buy a BMW.
The E90 330i captured that BM magic simply in a more premium way than what came before it, in turn failing to get the attention of the old school BMW enthusiasts that are still focusing on the past.
The thing I wonder now is, will this video become a timestamp in history? In 10 years' time, are people going to be lusting over an E90 the same way we lust over an E30 today? Only time will tell. But there is one thing I'm certain of right now. That is the best BMW nobody seems to be talking about. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed, feel free to check out our other videos on the right hand side of your screen. If you want to support further than that, we also have a web store full of t-shirts, hats, all sorts of goods for you to enjoy. candyshowroom.co.uk/shop. Take care, and I'll see you in the next film.